Do you know the symptoms of going into heart failure? Do you know what that looks like? Well, unfortunately, I do. In 2011, I thought that I had pneumonia. I was having a really hard time breathing. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just the worst bout of pneumonia I've ever had. And come to find out, I was in congestive heart failure. And because it's February, which is American Heart Month, I wanted to give you guys a few indicators as to what it looks like if you are in heart failure. Now, for one, my number one biggest symptom was shortness of breath. Now, when you go to the emergency room or you go to the doctor and they ask you if you're having shortness of breath, my idea of what that question was completely different as to what I was experiencing. I literally described it as, and do describe it still, as panting. I could not breathe in the way that I could only fill my lungs up so much before I was coughing. Like I literally was panting like a dog. It was, and that really was because my lungs were almost completely full of fluid. Because when you're in heart failure and your heart's not functioning, nothing else is functioning. Everything is backing up. And so the fluid was filling up in my lungs, and that lasted for a few days. It was a gradual thing. Well, it was terrifying because I couldn't lay down. If I laid down, then, what I didn't know at the time was that the fluid was coming up. So they, had to drain all of that out of my lungs. Another symptom that I had was a bladder infection. That sounds crazy, right? You're like, why would I have a bladder infection if I'm in heart failure? Well, everything's backing up. Everything in our body is completely connected, right? And I had because all of my organs were also going into failure because of my heart not pumping everything properly. I had horrible bladder issues. It was terrible. Another symptom that I had was sweating. Oh, I literally was just perspiring like you would not believe. All day long, the back of my neck would just break out in sweat. It was just drenched. And I was never one to perspire, never have been. And I just was like, oh, I must be going through, the change of life, and I'm having hot flash. I don't know. I mean, I was only 38 years old, but the back of my neck was just completely drenched. Let's see here. Another thing that I would go through was feeling heart palpitations. Now, I know that everyone gets heart palpitations from time to time, but this is very strong. This was like a boom. They're very, very, very powerful and very, very strong. Also looking at pictures of myself looking back, I was so puffy and so swollen. I guess it came on so gradually that I really didn't notice so much, but I was so full and so puffy, and all of that changed after I got off, all that fluid out of me. But anyway, evidently I caught a virus and it infected my heart, and I nearly died. I really did. I nearly died when I left the hospital. My heart was functioning at 15%, which is not good. And they gave me a year to live. But here we are all these years later, 13 years. And, medicine is so great. And we've learned so much even in those 13 years. So I have a long life ahead of me, and so can you. But be aware of those symptoms, my friend, because it can happen to anyone. Just anyone. So anyway, all right. Happy February, happy Heart Month. And let me know if you have any questions. If I can answer it, I will. But there's a lot of information on the internet.